Hello, I'd like to show you how to go about transcribing a page of a census from the Canadian Census. This is specifically from the 1921 census. You start by picking an electoral division that's suitable for your purposes and looking at the set of pages which have already been transcribed. Then you can pick a new page to transcribe. The first thing to note is that the transcription copies values from the previous page, the end of the previous page. Now, among the features you have here is if you click on any column heading, it will disappear until you click on it again with the left mouse button. If you click on something with the right mouse button, it becomes wider. So this form has support for all of the fields in the 1921 census. Now, to start off, you display the original census image as it is available from the website of the Library and Archives Canada. And zoom in until it's big enough for your purposes, and then scroll until you've got the portion of the form that you want to transcribe, and then start typing in. Now, of course, you can enter in family numbers manually, but there's a shortcut. If you just hit plus, it assigns the next family number in sequence. As you can see as I go along here, there are numerous shortcuts which you can do. Now, although you can enter the data from the next two columns in either of the columns, my personal preference is to enter it into the second column, but that's only because the second column does not fold text to uppercase. as you can see, when I enter an address, and it doesn't matter which column I enter the address into, that it fills in default values for the next several columns. But we can now go and override the defaults. Now observe if, as we enter, the relationship to the head of the household, that the application warns you that it doesn't trust the gender, in this case, of the individual, because the sex column has not been filled in yet. So as I enter the sex column, you can see that it clears the warning condition. Now I'm going to enter the marital status column. The default for this column is interpreted as single, so it's not necessary to actually enter the letter S into the field. And I prefer to leave blanks for the most common value in any column, so that it sets out the fact that we have unusual values in some of the fields. Now we just have to enter the handful of birthplaces that are not Ontario. I'm going to go over and do the birthplace of the father. That the application detects the fact that the birthplace of this individual is not in Canada, and therefore warns you that you need to fill in a date of immigration if possible. All of these individuals are natives of the British Empire and therefore have Canadian nationality, even if they were born outside of the country. And this particular township has a lot of Irish people. The application defaults to assuming that everybody speaks English and does not speak French. two columns for indicating whether the person can read and write. In the original form, these simply say yes, but I decided to record, to simplify obtaining statistics, to record actually the gender of the person if they can read and write, and blank if they can't, which is defaults that anybody from above the age of 5 is assumed to be able to read and write, and everybody under the age of 5 is assumed not to be able to read and write. And we have record the number of months that this individual was in school. I do not record an occupation of student unless it's for an advanced level of education. Now this next comment, the employment type column, was entered by enumerators using a letter code, W for employee, A for on own account, omitted for someone who was not working. And then, as you can see, was on the image was translated to a number code by the clerks at the central office in Ottawa. So now, rather than continuing on to transcribe the second half of this page, we're going to look at one of the features, which is the ability to link directly from the census to the family tree. In the very rightmost column is labeled FT for family tree, and the Find button searches the family tree for a person matching on name and birth date. You can see it has a fair degree of latitude in interpreting the names. So it's like it's managed to find all of those individuals. This is a process that requires human judgment as to whether it's actually a match or not. This can be assisted by opening up the individual and seeing here we notice that this individual this son Burton is not in the family yet because he wasn't born until 1917. So we add him to the family. And now he matches. So now I have the fact that Albert Edward Simpson worked as a farmer in Biddulph in 1921 is now recorded and linked to the census. Same thing for Irwin Hodgins. George Haskett. And this shows you the basic process. Once you've finished transcribing, go to the bottom of the page, select Update Database, and then it takes you back to the summary of the transcription of this particular enumeration division, where you can see that as of completing this, we're now at almost 30% completion on the transcription. So thank you for your attention.